So the title of my talk today came from, did you do it yet? No, good. The title of my talk today came from the joke I had with Mark Nepo last week when he said, "Don't ask me about the meaning of life." And I jokingly said, well, I'll take that off the list. And then it just stuck with me. I was like, darn, I really wanted to ask him about the meaning of life. And then I thought, I haven't really talked about the meaning of life, so the title of my talk today is The Meaning of Life. So I loved what Donia said, and it's exactly what I believe, and it's exactly what we've been talking about all month, that I am purpose. There's no purpose outside of myself. It's interesting, Pauline Pancake read a quote this morning in meditation, and it was by Leo Biscaglia, I believe, and it said, "I refuse to believe that my only purpose in life is to be happy." And when she first said it, I thought, except that is what I believe my purpose in life is, to be happy. But it's not. It's not to be happy. Thomas Troward says our only purpose in life is to be in the joy of life, to enjoy life. Being happy is more of a word that says it's an effect. I don't go after being happy. I am the joy of life. I am the purpose of life. I am life itself, expressing every moment. So happy is a nice byproduct, but what Leo Biscaglia said is, I don't believe my purpose of life is to be happy. I believe my purpose in life is to be. And that's correct. To be, to live, to express, to be in the consciousness of, to always be in that moment in time where I know who I am. And if I'm doing that, that's my purpose. Because if I know who I am and don't step off of that, everything that comes up for me to see through those eyes. Often what happens is something comes up in life, it distracts us, we move over to the distraction, and now we're seeing life through the eyes of that distraction. And that's not being in that place of truth. That is suddenly living in the relative world. And many of us, through much of our lives, and I'll say it just for myself, got caught in the relative world for a very long time. Just going from relative to relative. It sounded wrong. Going from aunt to uncle. No. Going from a relative experience to a relative experience, and this makes me feel this way. Now I feel this way, and I'm going to take that feeling to this. Meanwhile, our true purpose, our true authentic self, remains a little bit behind us, within us, begging, searching, pushing for us to get back to the truth of who we are. So the meaning of life. I love the line, "I live in the truth of me." And I love that you started too, Donia, by saying that it's interesting for you to write a song of purpose when you've been struggling with your own purpose. How many people here, by a show of hands, how many of you have struggled with your purpose in life at any point? So most people have struggled with their purpose in life at some point. Something comes up and makes us question, what is my purpose in life? When Nora passed, I questioned for a few brief days. I did. I questioned, what really is there for me to do now? Not like, oh, there's nothing for me to do now, I want to be done. That wasn't it. It was, what is there for me to do now when I will never be the same person again? And I had a really hard time driving here today. I don't know why, but all of a sudden, driving here, I was just overwhelmed by the fact that Nora wouldn't be here when I got here. And it's been 7 months. Yesterday was 7 months. And when I was driving and I was like, this, I can't afford this energy in my mind right now. And yet I can't afford not to honor it and respect it. So I did what I always do. I called her. And as I called her cell phone, which is still on, she'd never let go of her cell phone. It's still on, so I called her and she answered. She said, she has that little voice. It's like, "Hi, this is Nora, leave a message." It's like, how bored can you be leaving a message on your phone? I used to kid her about that and say, your message isn't exciting. She went, "It's just a message, Dad. Leave one." And so I called her and I left, and I told her, I said, "I'm having a really hard time. I don't know why, blah, blah, blah." And I just went on, and suddenly I'm driving, and that's when I came over the hill. And I said, I know I end these calls by saying, "Call me back," and I mean it, or just connect with me, contact me somehow. I said, so I'm going to hang up, and I trust that, and just as I'm saying this, I come over that hill, and there is this, and I went, all right, I got it done, But I got here, and I was still in that emotional state. And the question is, what is the meaning of life? A, and B, what is the meaning of my life? So there's the meaning of life, and then there's the meaning of my life. For you too. You know, we could talk about the meaning of life forever. We really could just keep talking about it. But when we go to the meaning of my life, now we have 200 individual ideas of what life is. What is the meaning of your life? So William James, who is the father of modern psychology, he was a pragmatist. And he said this: the meaning of life can only be understood through experience. Ernest Holmes said we spend far too much time thinking and far too little time doing. You know, we spend much too much time figuring out science of mind and way too little time living the science of mind. You know, so it's the same thing here. You know, as William James is saying, the only way we can understand the meaning of life is through experiencing the meaning of life. The only way you can experience the ocean is to jump into the ocean. Yeah, you can see it and it's beautiful and all that's lovely, but the only way you can experience it, I know you can sit and listen to it and all that, but really embody it is to dive into the ocean. I prefer to do it where it's shallow for myself and not encumbered by any snorkeling or scuba diving equipment. Because then I am not experiencing the ocean, I am experiencing anxiety. Because all I hear is, and I defy you to be spiritual in that moment. Because then the meaning of life is air. So, okay. Whew. Let's move on to Nietzsche before I have a pass out here. So, Friedrich Nietzsche, an existentialist, he said, the meaning of life is found through goals inspiring us to live. So, this is an existentialist. The meaning of life is the goals that inspire us to live. But I want you to hear that in word inspire. Because if you break that down, the way I say it is, the meaning of life is allowing the inspiration that you are to drive your life. The goals are merely that which comes from that inspiration. So that makes sense to me. So if the meaning of life is to allow the inspiring energy of God to flow through me as me, and therefore bring me wherever I go, that works for me as a general understanding of the meaning of life. Confucianism, which, by the way, was the largest world religion at one time on this planet. Confucianism. They taught this. We realize the ultimate meaning of life in ordinary human experience. So that would mean the meaning of life is when you are washing the dishes. Anybody relate? For me, the meaning of life is when I vacuum, because I love vacuuming. Anybody else love vacuuming? Someone went, no. So the meaning of life, according to Confucianism, means that what you do as a human, and I know, I believe I am a divine human, not just a human being having a divine experience or any of that stuff. I believe I am a divine human being, and so is every person on the planet. But what we do is really what the meaning of life is all about. And you know what I think that means? The meaning of life is life itself. What does life mean? It means it's alive. The meaning of life is that there is that which is alive at every moment. And if we are awake and aware and alive in every moment, the meaning is just that we get to do that. We get to live. We get not just the great, amazing things we do, but the simple, the little things we do. The interactions we have, the relationships we have with one another, saying hello to someone, a gentle hug, all of that. That's to me how I understand this idea of the meaning of life. In Judaism, it's to elevate the human world in preparation for the world to come. Now, as I move into Judaism and Christianity and Islam, somewhere along the line, we have taken the meaning of life and added God to it and made it a religious thing. And in fact, we have used religion to separate ourselves from the meaning of life. We have used religion to put somewhere as a moniker for us to look at as the meaning of life. So when you look at Judaism, to elevate the human world in preparation for the world to come, Christianity, to seek salvation through Jesus, is the meaning of life, our personal Savior. And yet Jesus came to say, the kingdom of heaven's here at hand. The kingdom of heaven is now. Have heaven now. Don't wait for later, because it's here right now. And don't think that there's something outside of you, because you and the Father, I and the Father are one. Jesus was one of the greatest master teachers of New Thought ever. I just finished this week writing a brand new musical with my partner. I always love it when I get to write at the end of something, because it's been months that we've been working on it. And there's a line in it about Christianity, about Jesus, and it's this whole idea that Jesus was a Jew and that Jesus didn't come to create Christianity. And it was something about drinking. It's a very funny line. You'll see it when you see the show. But it's about, and they say, well, Jesus wasn't a Christian. And that's actually the punchline. Jesus was not a Christian. You all know that, right? Jesus wasn't a Christian. So Christianity, telling us that our meaning in life is the salvation through Jesus, seems just a little bit off. Yet everything Jesus taught is what we believe as New Thought scientists. So perhaps we're the Christians. We are the Jesus followers, perhaps. You know, Jesus and many other people, before I get called on that. Many other great teachers besides Jesus. So that's Christianity. Islam, to discover God, the Creator, and move closer to Him throughout life. Now, what I like about that is, Islam is saying to know God deeper, better, to discover God and move closer towards God. Well, if that's the case, eventually, through Islam, we will, assumingly, get so close to God that we become God and basically understand the oneness of life. So that works, but that's still not my meaning of life. Joseph Campbell, and I'm so amazed that you said, I think these are the only two quotes we've ever done of Joseph Campbell in 15 years of my ministry. The meaning of life, because I love this that he said, the meaning of life is whatever you make it be. Work for you? Yeah, the meaning of life, he actually says ascribe, is whatever you ascribe it to be. And Anais Nin says, there is not one big cosmic meaning for all. There is only the meaning we each give to our life, an individual meaning, an individual plot, like an individual novel, a book. Each person gets to decide for him or herself. So I have a little story for you. I didn't talk much about Guatemala because when I came back, I was right into Mark Nepo world. But I had a great time in Guatemala. It was a beautiful experience. And I had one thing happen to me there that really rocked my world. And it happened like this. When we're in Guatemala, we take a boat from the house we live in to the orphanage. And it's about a 20-minute little speedboat ride. And so we get in the boat, and we stop to pick someone else up on the river. And as we went to stop to pick someone else up on the river, I was sitting next to my son. I saw that she could fit in our aisle, but there really wasn't that much room. I said, you know what, I'll straddle. And I got up, and Will's like, Dad, don't, Dad. And he's trying to get me not to do it. He said, it doesn't seem comfortable. It doesn't seem safe. And I was like, I'm not going to fall out of the boat. Trust me, I'm not falling out of the boat. And so I straddle my son, and I'm sitting there like this, and my butt's on the edge of the boat, and this person comes in, and all of a sudden, my phone flips up and out into the river. My iPhone flips up and out into the river. And in that moment, in that very second, I actually felt my world collapse. I know, doesn't that seem shallow? But it was. It wasn't shallow. It was very deep. And the phone... And I'm saying to people, it's okay, it floats. Why would I think my phone floats? I am literally telling people it floats. So much so that when we get to the orphanage, they send out a team of people looking for my floating phone. At which point, I think it was Will that turned to me at one point and went, Dad, your phone doesn't float. And I said, how do you know? I said, I bought a case for it. He goes, Dad, that was a case for it not to break when you drop it. I said, no, I swear to God, they told me it was floating. And Will's like, Dad, this is the same case you have. It doesn't float. You want me to prove it to you? I was like, no, we're good. So obviously, they never found my floating phone. And so for 4 days, I was unplugged. I didn't have a phone. No, we couldn't have any reception there anyway, hardly, but FaceTime we had. And Will still had his phone. But you ever try to get a phone off a teenager? So something in me, I was like, oh my God, I don't have a phone. I don't have my contacts. All of my pictures were on that phone. Everything's there. And now I'm like, oh dear God, is the iCloud working? Is the iCloud working? And what is an iCloud? And, and, and did I pay for that? Did I sign up for the iCloud? Does it just naturally go to the iCloud? And it was just a very harassing time for me where I was really contemplating the meaning of life without a cell phone. And I tell you that story because I ended up at the end of that journey feeling like I could maybe live without my iPhone. I could maybe go back to a time when everybody couldn't get me at the exact moment they wanted to get me. Do you ever have people call you and like if you don't pick up, they're like, did you not have your phone on? It's like, I did have it on. Did you not see I was calling? I did. I was in the middle of something. Well, just pick up and tell me that. And the last time that happened, I was in the middle of a counseling session, and I saw my phone come on. I said, and then I really felt bad that I had the phone next to me, that side up. So we have so many warped ideas of what the meaning of life is that I thought it'd be a nice day for me to ask you to ask yourself, what is your meaning of life? Because after I lost the phone, our last day there, we go to this big waterfall. It's a hot springs waterfall, natural hot springs. And we went to the waterfall, and Nora and I have gone there the last 3 times. And the first time we went there, you climb up the top of this rock where the waterfall is, and you go and you get mud, apparently spiritual mud. And they put mud all over your body, your hair, your face, everything, and you really look cool coming back to the river. And you come back to the top of the waterfall, and then you jump off the top of this very high mountain into the waterfall and into the river. Well, the first time we went, I was having a little hard time with that. I went up for the mud, but then I thought, I'm going to climb down. And Nora was the first one. She ran to the edge and jumped. And I was like, well, now I guess I'm going to have to do it, aren't I? So she climbs back up, and I still haven't gone. I'm letting everybody go ahead of me. I'm trying to make them all safe and make sure they go. And then the last person that went was Jonathan's husband, Dane, and he had a nervous breakdown. He was like, I can't do it. I said, it's okay. I don't need to do it. I can walk you down. So I started to walk him down, but Nora was coming back up for her 3rd jump. And she came by and she goes, if you're going to walk him down, fine, but you're coming back up and you're jumping. And then Dane said, no, I think I can do it. I went, no, you can't. And so Nora jumped, and then Dane jumped. And now I'm the lone man looking like a pygmy with mud everywhere on top of this mountain, and I did jump. And it was great. I had a great time, and I've done it every year since. This year, the water was too low to jump. Isn't that sad? So no one could jump, which was sad because Will, this was his first year. He was like, I can't believe we're not jumping. I went, I know. And so we all get all muddied up and everything. So this is the real story. Where the waterfalls is, there's also caves you can dive under and be in these big caves. And we brought Nora's ashes. And I had gone away from the crowd to another side of where the waterfall is kind of private. And I had decided to throw them here. And I called Will up and I said, can we do this here? And he went, Dad, no, because you're going to put the ashes here. They're going to come down the waterfall into and then all of our friends are going to be swimming in Nora's ashes. I was like, well, I'm just going to do a little. I said, and I don't think that by the time it gets there, it just becomes one with everything. He's like, no, I don't want to do it now. I was like, all right. So we go about our 2 hours, and finally at the end, Will's up where I was. And I was like, his girlfriend was there, and she said, you should go up. I think he really wants to do it now. I said, okay. So I climb up this whole area again. I get back up to where Will is, and he has carved in the waterfall mountain that's right behind it, Nora's name in a beautiful, because the rock is so soft that he could really carve her name in it. And then a big W, and he's in the midst of doing J to show that the 3 of us were here. And we're standing there, and I was like, Will, that is so beautiful. I'm getting very emotional. And he said, yeah, let's do it now. But this is where we should do it. He said, and I knew I could do this because someone already carved something in it. And I looked down to see what they had carved, and it was the number 5, which is my number with Nora. And I was like, that is impossible. In the middle of the rainforest, in Guatemala, in the Rio Dulce, behind a waterfall, there is a 5 carved into this. And Will said, well, Dad, obviously she carved it one of the years she was here. I was like, oh, good point. And I said, but she would have shown me. He said, have you ever climbed up here with her? I was like, no, I tried to stay away from that area. So it's possible that she carved a 5 one of the years we were there, which would really be in honor of me because 5 was her number for me. That's how she honored me. She put a 5 on her phone. She just put 5s everywhere. And standing there in the rainforest, in the midst of this gorgeous waterfall with my beautiful son, having carved all this, and to see that 5, I had such an epiphany of the meaning of life that you can't go anywhere where you are not at home. You can't go anywhere where you are not one with everything. You cannot leave any part of yourself anywhere. None of you can ever be diminished or lessened in any way. It will always be right where you are. The meaning of life, the personal meaning of life, is that everything is fully contained right where anyone is at all time. And you get to just do whatever you want with it. And you can never ruin it. You can never lose it. I went all the way across the world to find Nora again in the midst of a rainforest, in the midst of a waterfall. So when we look at the meaning of life, trying to make meaning out of life, that's not the thing. It's not about making the meaning out of life. It's not about finding our purpose. It's understanding that I am the meaning of life. So what is the meaning of life? Meaning is my life. That's what my life is. It is meaning itself. It is truth itself. It's knowing itself, moving as me through everything. I bring my gift everywhere I go because the gift is me. The gift is you. You're not looking for the gift. No one's giving you a gift. You are the gift. I am the center of meaning in my life. Meaning. So the definition of meaning is the thing one wishes to convey, a significant quality of something. So my question to you is, what is the significant quality of life you wish to convey? And are you conveying it? Do you want your life to be about love? Then the question is, are you conveying love? Do you want your life to be about joy? Are you conveying joy? Are you seeing joy even when there seems to be none? You know, I started this service talking about the upcoming election. But elections and these types of things are so divisive. I watch them tear people apart. And it doesn't need to be that. What are we going to convey as we move through this next year and a half of our lives in this country? Are we going to just keep showing up as a divisive country with sides and opinions? None of it matters because there's a 5 somewhere in the rainforest. That's what matters. So what are you going to convey? What are you willing to convey as you go forward? Seneca said, begin at once to live and count each day as a separate life. Mahatma Gandhi said, every moment of your life is infinite creative, and the universe is endlessly bountiful. Just put forth a clear enough request, and everything your heart desires must come to you. So if you're willing to get all the crud out of your head, get all the crap out of your life, to get all of the divisiveness, all the separateness out of your life, to see everyone you know as the pure love that they are, if you're willing to do that, then perhaps you're willing to not only know the meaning of life, but start living the meaning of life. And as Gandhi said, you get to request the life you want to live. So I'm here to ask you, what are your requests going to be? Because the universe is going to say yes, but you have to request it. You have to decide it. You have to be willing to live it. This is a very important moment in the history of mankind Not because we have an election, but because I believe, and many people believe, that consciousness is ready to jump to a huge paradigm shift away from separateness and into oneness. Very often, right before something monumental like that happens, the last crying embers of despair over losing something like separateness comes raging forward. Well, it's raging forward right now, but I choose to pay attention to what's coming on the other side of that shift. And that is going to be love, and that is going to be oneness, and that is going to be unity, and that is going to be the ability of every man, woman, and child to have the life they choose to have, because we're going to start remembering that you are me, I am you. What do you need? Because I have whatever you need, and you have whatever I need, because need doesn't come into play, because we have it all right here, right now. So what's your request? What are you requesting the world, and what are you putting forward? Because whatever that is, there goes your life. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.